All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to play detective and look into some of those hidden, frustrating reasons why pregnancy might be taking longer than you expected. The goal here? To turn all that confusion into some real clarity so you walk away knowing exactly what to ask your doctor. Let's begin.
You know, it can be an incredibly frustrating and honestly a pretty isolating experience. You feel like you're doing everything by the book, tracking all the things, following all the advice, but still nothing's happening. So think of this as your structured guide to help you and your doctor start connecting the dots and investigating the clues your body might be sending you.
So our investigation starts in what I like to call your body's command center. This is where tiny chemical messengers, hormones, are directing pretty much everything, from your mood to your monthly cycle. And if just one of those signals gets a little off-key, the whole system can be affected.
Let's zero in on the pituitary gland. Think of it as mission control for your entire reproductive system. It's the one sending out the crucial signals that tell your ovaries what to do. Now, if these signals are a bit weak or maybe inconsistent, the very first sign you'll probably see is an irregular monthly cycle. And that right there, that's a major clue that this is an area that needs a much closer look.
So, where do you even begin? Well, it's actually simpler than you might think. These 3 key blood tests can give you a really quick look to see if there's a hormonal imbalance. They're like a clear snapshot of what's really happening behind the scenes.
Next up is vitamin D. Seriously, this one is so often overlooked, but it is absolutely crucial for hormonal balance. As we get older, our levels can naturally dip, and a deficiency can quietly get in the way of conception. The good news? This is often a really straightforward fix. Just getting enough sunlight and talking to your doctor about supplements can make a huge difference.
Okay, here's a surprising one. Prolactin, also known as the milk hormone. Its main job, as you'd guess, is to get milk production going after childbirth. But here's the catch. If your prolactin levels are high when you're not breastfeeding, it basically sends a signal to your body that, hey, it's not time for another pregnancy, and it can just shut the whole system down. A simple blood test taken right after your period will give you a clear answer on this one.
All right, now let's talk about the most obvious clue you get every single month. Your menstrual cycle is so much more than just a monthly event. It's like a detailed health report, and it's packed with information if you know how to read it.
These symptoms, they're not just annoyances. They are direct messages from your body. Things like heavy clotting, a period that drags on for more than 8 or 9 days, or bleeding that stops and then restarts. These can be indicators of underlying issues, maybe something like PCOS or even problems with the uterine lining itself. And it's so important to understand just how critical this foundation is. The uterine lining is where a fertilized egg has to implant and grow. So if your period is too long, or it's all over the place, or you're seeing those warning signs we just talked about, it could suggest this foundation isn't quite as healthy as it needs to be. And that definitely deserves a conversation with your doctor.
Okay, so we've covered the signals, the hormones, and we've talked about the monthly report, your cycle. Now our investigation is going to move to the physical structures. We've got to make sure the path itself is actually clear of any potential roadblocks.
Now, it is really important to get this distinction. Weak ovulation is a quality issue. Your body is making eggs, but they just aren't maturing enough to be successfully fertilized. On the other hand, low ovarian reserve is a quantity issue. It means you have fewer eggs available than is typical for your age. These are 2 totally different problems, and they require very different treatment strategies.
And beyond ovulation, there can be other physical roadblocks. For instance, blocked fallopian tubes can literally prevent the egg and sperm from ever meeting. And uterine adhesions, which are basically internal scar tissue, can also get in the way. The good news is that modern diagnostics, like a simple ultrasound, can spot these issues really effectively.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's just press pause right here. Everything we've talked about so far, it's all been focused on one side of the equation. But what if the clue we're looking for isn't with you at all? See, this whole journey, it takes 2. And that, right there, is a massive turning point in our investigation. So it's time to expand our investigation. To really get the complete picture, we absolutely have to look at your partner's health. It's an equally critical piece of this whole puzzle. This number really says it all, doesn't it? Conception is a 50-50 equation. If you only focus the investigation on one partner, you're literally only looking at half of the data. So checking your partner's health, it's not an option. It's a necessary, logical next step in any thorough investigation.
This is such a vital point. A lot of people assume that if a man has fathered children before, his fertility is, guaranteed for life. That is a total myth. A person's health changes over time, so what was true years ago isn't necessarily relevant today. A current analysis is absolutely non-negotiable if you want the complete picture.
And just like you monitor your own body's signs, there are some observable things that can offer initial clues even before a formal lab analysis. Paying attention to the quantity, the consistency, is it overly thick or watery, and even the color of the seminal fluid can provide some really important preliminary information.
Okay, we have gathered a ton of clues from hormones, cycle patterns, physical factors, and your partner's health. Now, let's put it all together. It's time to organize all this knowledge into a clear, empowering, and most importantly, manageable action plan.
See how this timeline just breaks down what can feel like an overwhelming process into logical, bite-sized steps? You start with your hormones, you move on to a physical checkup, and you bring your partner's analysis into the mix. Then, once all the data is collected, you can build a truly comprehensive plan. It makes the path forward feel so much more achievable.
So to wrap it all up, a successful investigation never looks at just one thing in isolation. It's about systematically looking at these 4 key areas together: balancing the hormones, decoding your cycle, clearing any physical paths, and of course, including your partner. That is the complete 360-degree approach to getting real answers.
This knowledge is your starting point. It's the tool you need to walk into that doctor's office and begin the right conversation. You are now equipped to be an active, empowered participant in your own health journey, to ask targeted questions and to take control of finding the answers that you deserve.